Know why I stopped you?
No, sir.
You changed lanes without signaling?
I haven't changed lanes, officer.
We'll see. Got any weapons?
Sheriff Philip Lever approached with the confidence of a man who had done this 37 times in 6 months. Pull over a target, fabricate probable cause, plant evidence, make the arrest, pad the statistics, collect the commendations. He had no idea the dashboard camera beneath her rearview mirror was recording every step he took. He had no idea the calm woman with her hands on the steering wheel was a 12-year police veteran. He had no idea that in less than 60 seconds, he would plant evidence that would send him to prison for 4 years and cost his department over $13 million. Philip Lever thought Linda Lawson looked vulnerable, alone, easy. He was catastrophically wrong. If you are ready to see institutional racism taken down, like this video and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. And if this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button right now because you won't want to miss tomorrow's story of cops messing with the wrong people and finding out. Let's continue. The clock on Linda Lawson's dashboard read 11:47 when the patrol lights activated behind her. She had been driving for 23 minutes since leaving her mother's house, following every traffic law with the precision of someone who had spent 12 years enforcing them. The rural road stretched empty in both directions. Autumn fog rolled low across the asphalt. Linda had maintained a steady 52 miles per hour in the 55 zone. She had signaled every lane adjustment. She had crossed no lines, run no lights, committed no violations, yet the lights were there, flashing, following. Her hands tightened on the steering wheel, not from fear, but from recognition. She knew this pattern. The late hour, the deserted road, the target alone. She glanced at the small camera mounted beneath her rearview mirror, installed 6 months earlier after her teenage son was harassed during a traffic stop. Linda activated her turn signal and eased the Honda Civic onto the shoulder. She turned on the interior dome light before the cruiser had even stopped rolling. Both hands went to 10 and 2 on the wheel. She rolled down her window halfway. The camera was already recording. Sheriff Philip Lever sat in his patrol vehicle for 93 seconds before emerging. He ran her plates through the system, already knowing they would come back clean. Clean plates didn't matter. He had quotas to meet and a pattern to maintain. 34 years old. 8 years on the force. Decorated on paper. Corrupt in practice. His personnel file showed military service, honorable discharge, dedication to law enforcement. What it didn't show was the system he had perfected. Target drivers in certain demographics. Late-night stops on rural roads, fabricate probable cause, conduct searches alone, plant evidence when necessary, and it was always necessary. Philip had done this 37 times in the past 6 months. 23 had resulted in drug-related arrests. His conviction rate was exceptional. His superiors loved him. In his cargo pocket sat 3 small plastic baggies. Drop baggies. Evidence on demand. He rotated suppliers every few months. Never got sloppy. Never got caught. Linda Lawson would be number 38. Philip finally stepped out, flashlight in hand. He approached slowly, scanning the Honda. Older model. City plates. Woman alone. The flashlight beam swept across the interior back seat, empty, no visible contraband. He reached the driver's window and angled his flashlight directly at Linda's face. Standard intimidation technique. Linda met the light without flinching. Her expression remained neutral, patient. Philip's voice came clipped and aggressive. License and registration, now. Linda reached slowly for her purse, narrating her movements. Reaching for my purse now, getting my license. Registration is in the glove compartment. Every motion deliberate. She handed both documents through the window. Philip snatched them without acknowledgement. He examined her license with exaggerated attention. Linda Marie Lawson. 38 years old. City address. Clean record. His flashlight found her face again. Long way from home. Linda's response was measured. Visiting my mother. Heading home now. Philip's jaw worked. He claimed he had clocked her swerving between lanes 3 miles back. Erratic driving, possible impairment. The lie was casual. Linda knew she had not swerved, but she simply stated she had not been drinking, was happy to perform field sobriety tests if necessary. Philip's expression hardened. He had expected fear. This woman was giving him none of that. He asked about weapons, about drugs. No, to all. Voice steady. Philip returned to his cruiser, ran unnecessary checks, made Linda wait. 15 minutes ticked by. Linda sat motionless. The camera recording everything. When Philip finally returned, his demeanor had shifted, more aggressive. He informed Linda he had reasonable suspicion to search her vehicle based on her nervousness and inconsistent answers. Linda had shown no nervousness, had given no inconsistent answers. Linda knew her rights, but she also knew refusal would only give Philip the excuse he wanted, and she knew something he didn't. Everything was being recorded. So she consented. Philip ordered her out. Linda complied, moving slowly, hands visible. Philip positioned her at the rear of the Honda, away from the driver's side, away from where she could see his hands, creating a blind spot. The dashboard camera continued recording. Angle perfect. Philip made a show of beginning the search, lifted floor mats, checked under seats, opened the glove compartment. His movements were theatrical. Linda stood at the rear bumper. A car passed, slowed, then continued. No witnesses. Philip's body language remained theatrical. Left hand searching visibly, right hand slipping into his cargo pocket. The camera caught it. The subtle reach. The baggie. In one practiced motion, Philip positioned himself to block any view. His right hand tucked the baggie under the driver's seat. His left hand continued the visible search. He straightened, called out to Linda, ordered her to stay where she was. Then he reached back in. His hand emerged holding the small plastic baggie, white powder visible inside. "What's this, ma'am?" Linda looked at the baggie, then at Philip. Her expression did not change. She stated simply that she had never seen it before. Philip's smile was thin and satisfied. He announced she was under arrest for possession of a controlled substance, began reciting her rights while pulling handcuffs from his belt. Linda asked one measured question. "Are you absolutely certain you want to do this, Officer Lever?" The question hung in the cool night air. He laughed and told her she should have thought about consequences before carrying narcotics. Linda said nothing more, simply extended her hands. The metal clicked around her wrists. Philip walked her to his patrol vehicle, placed her in the back seat. Linda sat in silence. Through the window, she watched Philip return to her Honda. The dashboard camera was still recording, had recorded Philip's hand entering his pocket at timestamp 23, 47, and 33 seconds, had recorded the baggie palmed in his hand, had recorded him tucking it under the seat at 23:48 and 12 seconds, had recorded him pretending to discover it at 23:48 and 34 seconds. 61 seconds. That was all it took. Philip radioed for a tow truck. Voice casual, satisfied. Glanced in the rearview mirror at Linda. She sat perfectly still, staring straight ahead. He mistook her composure for shock. What he could not see was that Linda's calm came from knowledge, not defeat. She had the evidence. She had the recording. She had 12 years of experience and a badge of her own. And she could wait. Backup units were already en route. They would arrive in 8 minutes. Sheriff Philip Lever had no idea his career had just ended. But Linda Lawson knew. The first backup unit arrived at 11:59. A second followed 90 seconds later. 2 sheriff's department vehicles pulling onto the shoulder behind Philip's cruiser. Deputy Frank Holloway emerged from the first vehicle. 22 years on the force. Gray at the temples. He had noticed patterns that made him uncomfortable, but had never voiced concerns. Deputy Sarah Brennan stepped out of the second vehicle. 4 years in, detail-oriented. She had noticed small inconsistencies in Philip's reports. Both approached Philip's cruiser in standard backup protocol. Philip stepped out, posture relaxed. He briefed them efficiently. Traffic stop. Suspected impaired driver. Consented to vehicle search. Controlled substance discovered under driver's seat. Subject now in custody. Tow truck en route. The story was clean. Straightforward. Believable. Holloway asked if Philip needed assistance. Philip declined. But Brennan's attention had already shifted. She walked toward the Honda Civic. She reached the driver's side window and aimed her flashlight through the glass. The beam swept across the interior, then stopped, locked onto something mounted below the rearview mirror. A camera, professional grade, high-definition capability. Brennan called out to Philip. "Did you notice the camera?" Philip's stride faltered. Just for a second. Then he recovered, stated he had seen it during the search. Didn't matter because everything was legitimate. But his voice carried an edge now. Defensive. Holloway's expression shifted. That momentary hesitation was notable. Brennan walked to Philip's patrol vehicle, looked through the rear window at the woman sitting inside. Most arrestees were agitated, angry, crying. This woman sat perfectly still, expression neutral, just waiting. Brennan tapped on the window, asked if she was injured. The woman's response came calm and measured. She stated she was unharmed, then added, "Before Officer Lever files his report, you need to check the footage on that dashboard camera." Suspects did not volunteer evidence. Brennan blinked. "Why would we need to see that?" The woman's answer came deliberate. "Because it recorded everything, every moment of this stop, including what Officer Lever removed from his pocket and placed under my driver's seat." Silence fell like physical weight. Holloway moved closer. Philip's face went rigid. Holloway asked Linda to repeat what she had just said. She did, word for word. Then added, "The camera is high definition with audio. It captured Officer Lever planting that evidence." Philip tried to speak. "She's lying." Holloway held up one hand. "Cut him off." He turned to Philip. "You followed proper search procedure? Maintained visual on the subject the entire time?" Philip's answer came too quickly. "Of course I did." But sweat had appeared on his forehead. His hands trembled. Brennan pulled out her phone, started making notes. This had become an officer-involved incident. Holloway examined the camera through the windshield. Professional mounting, clear positioning. He returned to the patrol car, asked Linda why they should believe there was anything on that camera contradicting Philip's account. Linda's eyes never wavered. "Because I know what proper evidence collection looks like, Deputy. I've done it myself for 12 years. Brennan's head snapped up. "You've done what?" Linda provided her credentials. Officer Linda Lawson, Metro City Police Department, badge number 4127, 12 years of service, off duty, and I've just been framed. The words landed like physical blows. Philip's face drained of color. His hands began shaking. Holloway's expression moved through shock, disbelief, then grim understanding. This was career-ending, prison-worthy, catastrophic. Brennan's radio was already at her lips. She needed a lieutenant on scene. Now, officer-involved incident. At this moment, Philip Lever's 8-year career hung by a thread. One camera, one lie, one cop who caught another cop framing her. Do you think dashboard cameras should be mandatory in every vehicle? Drop your answer in the comments, and if you're gripped by this story, hit that like button to help us bring more stories of justice to light. Holloway approached the patrol car with keys for the handcuff restraints, opened the door. "Ma'am, Officer Lawson, I'm going to remove these restraints. I apologize." Linda stepped out, rubbed her wrists, but her expression held no anger, only patient resolve. She walked to her Honda, opened the door, reached up to the camera mount, removed the SD card with practiced ease, placed it in Brennan's gloved hand. "Everything you need is on there. The stop, the search, Officer Lever's hand going into his pocket, the planting, all of it." Brennan secured it in an evidence bag. Documented chain of custody. Philip stood frozen, watching his world collapse. His voice emerged desperate. "This is a misunderstanding." Holloway cut him off. "Stop talking, right now." Philip's eyes darted between the deputies, between Linda, between the Honda and the evidence bag, calculating escape routes that did not exist. He tried once more. "You're taking the word of a suspect over a fellow officer?" Linda's response was quiet but cut deep. "I'm not a suspect, Lever. I'm a witness to you committing multiple felonies. Brennan added, and we have video evidence, which we're going to review right now. Headlights appeared through the fog, Lieutenant Davis arriving with lights, but no siren. Davis emerged from his vehicle. Tall, graying, 31 years on the force. He brought a laptop and grim expression. He took statements. Holloway first, then Brennan, then Linda. Linda's account was detailed, precise, included timestamps. Davis turned to Philip, asked if he wanted to say anything before the footage was reviewed. I want union representation. Davis nodded. That's your right, but we're viewing the evidence now regardless. He placed the laptop on the hood, inserted the SD card. The timestamp read 23:34 when the recording began. Everyone gathered around. Philip remained at his cruiser. Head down, Davis pressed play. The video unfolded in crystal clarity. Linda's calm driving. No violations. Philip's vehicle following for 2 miles. The stop. The aggressive questioning. Linda's compliance. The search beginning. Then the critical moment. Timestamp 23:47:33. Philip's right hand entering his cargo pocket. His hand emerging with something palmed. Davis froze the frame, enhanced it. The outline of the baggie was visible. The video continued, Philip positioning himself to block views, his hand moving to the driver's seat, the tucking motion. Timestamp 23:48:12. Then him straightening, reaching back in, pulling out the baggie, holding it up. Timestamp 23:48:34. Total time 61 seconds. The evidence was irrefutable. Davis closed the laptop. His face had transformed to stone. He turned to Philip. Philip Lever, you're being placed under arrest for evidence tampering, false imprisonment, and official misconduct. Holloway moved forward. The same handcuffs that had held Linda now came out for Philip. Philip's hands went behind his back. No resistance left. All fight drained away. Davis read him his rights. Voice, flat, professional. Brennan documented everything. Linda watched in silence as Philip was placed in Brennan's patrol vehicle. Justice in 61 seconds of video. But this was only the beginning. Because Philip Lever's corruption ran deeper than anyone knew. The Sheriff's Department Internal Affairs Office opened at 8:30 the next morning, but Lieutenant Davis, Captain Rebecca Torres, and District Attorney William Fletcher had been there since 6. The dashboard camera footage played on a loop. Torres was Internal Affairs, 15 years investigating officer misconduct. She froze the video at 23:47:33, enhanced the frame. The outline of the baggie was unmistakable. Fletcher leaned forward. 23 years as district attorney. This was the clearest planted evidence documentation he had ever encountered. But Torres wanted more than one incident. Her instincts told her this was not Philip's first frame-up. The movements were too practiced. She ordered a complete arrest record pull. Meanwhile, Philip sat in an interrogation room with his union attorney, Raymond Price. Price was good, expensive, but even he looked grim. There was no defense strategy for video evidence this clear. Torres's computer analyst worked with frightening efficiency. Philip's 8-year arrest record spread across 3 monitors, 312 total arrests, 89% conviction rate. But patterns emerged under scrutiny. Past 6 months, 37 traffic stops, 23 drug-related arrests, 91% occurred between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., 87% on rural roads. 78% involved women, minorities, or people driving older vehicles. In 19 cases, Philip was the sole officer. In 15 cases, suspects claimed planted evidence. Torres's jaw tightened. This was predatory targeting. She pulled 5 cases with striking similarities to Linda's stop. The patterns were identical. Late night, rural roads, vague probable cause, solo searches, drugs in concealed locations. Suspects' consistent claims of being framed. Case 1, Ashley Reynolds, 29, single mother, lost custody of 2 children for 9 months. Case 2, Marcus Webb, 22, college student, lost scholarship, expelled, now working warehouse jobs. Case 3, Vincent Park, 67. Retired postal worker. Served 8 months in jail. Wife died from stress before his release. Case 4. Jasmine Cole, 25. Waitress. Took plea deal. Lost job. Apartment. Custody of daughter temporarily. Case 5. Javier Ruiz, 41. Construction worker. Immigrant. Immigration detention. Family nearly destroyed. 5 lives. 5 frame-ups. 5 people who told the truth and were not believed. Fletcher ordered immediate contact with all 5 victims. That new evidence had emerged, that justice might finally arrive. But Torres was not finished. She ran comprehensive background on Philip Lever. Something felt wrong. Military records showed honorable discharge. Army, 6 years, separated 2015. But Torres had investigated enough falsified documents to recognize when something felt off. She contacted Army records directly. The clerk sounded confused. The discharge code didn't match their system. Would take 3 days to pull the full record. Torres kept digging. Philip had moved from Georgia in 2016, claimed fresh start. The sheriff at the time had fast-tracked the application. Background investigation was cursory. Torres contacted Georgia law enforcement. Detective Lawrence Grant remembered the name immediately. Yeah, Philip Lever. We had a situation with him back in 2015. Grant pulled the file, emailed it. The report detailed a nightmare. Complaint filed by the Whitfield family, African-American family. Months of harassment by Philip and other soldiers. Racial slurs, intimidation, threats. Escalation to Philip planting stolen property in their vehicle. Military police investigated. Found evidence. Philip was dishonorably discharged, faced criminal charges. Then he disappeared. Vanished before arraignment. The Whitfield family was left without justice, and Philip Lever moved to another state, falsified his discharge documents, fabricated commendations, applied to a sheriff's department that did not check thoroughly enough, built an entire law enforcement career on lies. Torres brought the evidence to Fletcher. This changes everything. Not just framing Linda, not just 5 other victims, but 9 years spanning 2 states. Fletcher contacted the Whitfield family. They were still in Georgia, still remembered. When Fletcher explained what had happened, Patricia Whitfield's voice broke. We told him he was dangerous. We told him he'd do it again, and nobody listened. But they were willing to testify. Still had documentation. Still wanted justice. The military records arrived 3 days later, confirmed dishonorable discharge for conduct unbecoming and evidence tampering. The documents Phillips submitted were comprehensively falsified. Local news picked up the story. Sheriff's deputy arrested after framing off-duty cop. The footage went viral. National news outlets covered it. The headline evolved. Disgraced soldier turned corrupt cop. 9-year pattern exposed. The 5 other victims were contacted by reporters. Their stories aired. Public outrage intensified. Protests formed outside the sheriff's department. Georgia news stations interviewed the Whitfield family. Patricia's words echoed in every broadcast. We warned them. We told them what he was. They didn't care enough to check. Torres expanded her investigation to Philip's supervisor, Sergeant Kevin Drake. He had signed off on every arrest. Never questioned patterns. Drake's interview revealed willful ignorance. He considered Philip's numbers good police work, dismissed complaints as criminal lies. Fletcher ordered Drake placed on administrative leave. 6 months passed. Philip sat in county jail, bail denied due to flight risk. His attorney attempted plea negotiations. Fletcher refused every time. This goes to trial. The public needs to see what happened. The 5 victims had their convictions overturned, records expunged, but the damage lingered. Ashley Reynolds rebuilding her relationship with children. Marcus Webb applying to community colleges. Vincent Park visiting his wife's grave. Jasmine Cole finally looking her daughter in the eye. Javier Ruiz teaching his children the system could correct itself. Linda returned to duty. The camera remained in her Honda. She testified to grand juries, cooperated fully with prosecution. The trial date was set. Philip Lever's day of reckoning was coming. The county courthouse was packed by 8 a.m. on trial day 1. Media vans lined both sides of the street. Inside, courtroom 3 was beyond capacity. Judge Elizabeth Navarro presiding. 28 years on the bench. Reputation for fairness and firmness. Prosecution, District Attorney William Fletcher and Assistant DA Grace Sullivan. Defense, Raymond Price and co-counsel Amanda Foster. Philip sat between them in civilian clothes. Gray slacks, white shirt, navy tie, no badge. His face was hollow. Weight lost during 6 months in jail. The charges were read. 6 counts evidence tampering, 6 counts false imprisonment, 6 counts official misconduct, 6 counts civil rights violations, falsifying official documents. Jury selection had taken 4 days. Final panel of 12 with 6 alternates. Fletcher's opening statement was methodical and devastating. 9 years, 2 states, at least 6 confirmed victims, 1 family in Georgia, systematic targeting, falsified credentials, a predator who wore a badge like camouflage. Price's defense strategy was limited. He could not dispute the video, so he attempted isolation. Argued Linda's case was a single incident, a moment of terrible judgment. Judge Navarro allowed the Georgia evidence. It establishes modus operandi. Fletcher called Linda Lawson as first witness. She took the stand in her police uniform. Deliberate choice. Visual reminder she was not just a victim, but a fellow officer. Fletcher walked her through September 24th with precision. The stop, Philip's aggressive demeanor, the fabricated probable cause, her positioning at the rear, the arrest, revealing her identity, the camera footage. Price's cross-examination attempted to suggest Linda provoked the stop. Linda's response was calm, unshakable. "I didn't provoke anything, Mr. Price. I obeyed every traffic law. Your client targeted me because he thought I'd be an easy victim. He was wrong." Fletcher played the dashboard camera footage. Jury watched in complete silence. Philip's hand entering his pocket. 23, 47, 33. The baggie palmed. Enhanced. Unmistakable. The planting motion. Slowed. Documented. The fake discovery. 23, 48, 34. 2 jurors visibly reacted. Philip stared at the defense table, could not watch himself commit crimes in high definition. The 5 victims testified in succession. Ashley Reynolds described losing her children for 9 months. "I told them I was innocent. Nobody listened. Because I didn't have a camera. I didn't have a badge." Marcus Webb described his destroyed future. "He didn't just plant drugs. He destroyed my future." Vincent Park, 68, frail, visibly emotional, described 8 months in jail, his wife dying. "I never got to tell her I was innocent. She died thinking I was a criminal." The courtroom went silent. Several jurors wiped tears. Jasmine Cole testified about her plea deal. "I pleaded guilty to something I didn't do because I was terrified of going to prison for something I didn't do." Javier Ruiz described his arrest. "Immigration detention. My children asked me why the police took me. I had no answer." The Georgia witnesses testified via video. Daniel and Patricia Whitfield described the harassment, the planted tools, Philip's discharge, his disappearance. Patricia's words carried weight. "We told them he was dangerous. We told them he'd do it again, and nobody listened." Expert witnesses followed. Former FBI analyst examined the falsified military documents. Police practices expert explained how Philip violated protocol in every instance. Price called character witnesses. 3 deputies testified Philip seemed professional. Fletcher's cross-examination was surgical. None ever rode with Philip during night shifts. None questioned his high drug fine rate. Their testimony crumbled. Price called Sergeant Drake. Fletcher's cross-examination was brutal. "You dismissed 3 formal complaints, correct? You never questioned why his drug arrests were 4 times higher? You never reviewed his dash cam footage?" Drake's credibility collapsed. Philip did not testify. Price advised against it. Closing arguments summarized the inevitable. Fletcher Philip Lever didn't make a mistake. He made a career out of destroying innocent lives. Price: one moment of terrible judgment shouldn't define a man's entire life. Fletcher's rebuttal: this wasn't one moment. This was who he chose to be for 9 years. The jury deliberated 5 hours and 17 minutes. They returned with written verdict: guilty on all counts. Philip showed no reaction. The 5 victims in the gallery embraced, crying. Linda sat quietly in the back row. No triumph, only solemn acknowledgement. Judge Navarro set sentencing for 2 weeks. Sentencing day arrived with same media presence. Victim impact statements were allowed. Ashley Reynolds spoke of rebuilding. Marcus Webb described dreams deferred. Vincent Park honored his late wife. Jasmine Cole talked about getting her daughter back. Javier Ruiz explained his children learning to trust again. The Whitfield family attended via video. Spoke of closure after 9 years. Linda declined verbal statement. But Fletcher read one she submitted. I had a camera. They didn't. I had a badge. They didn't. I was believed. They weren't. That's the only difference between us. But it shouldn't be. The badge means we're held to a higher standard. Philip Lever betrayed that standard and weaponized the law against innocent people. Justice isn't just about punishing him. It's about ensuring this never happens again. Judge Navarro's sentencing statement was powerful. She spoke for 11 minutes. You wore a badge, but you betrayed everything it represents. You targeted the vulnerable, the marginalized. You built your career on lies, destroyed lives with fabricated evidence. She imposed sentence: 4 years in federal prison, no parole, badge permanently revoked, pension stripped, banned from law enforcement for life, must pay restitution. Upon release, 5 years supervised probation. Must register as convicted felon. Georgia warrant honored. Philip was led away in handcuffs. The civil reckoning followed swiftly. Linda filed lawsuit. County settlement: $3.4 million, largest in county history. The 5 other victims filed suits. Ashley Reynolds, $1.8 million. Marcus Webb, $2.1 million. Vincent Park, $2.3 million. Jasmine Cole, $1.6 million. Javier Ruiz, $1.9 million. Total cost, $13.1 million. The Whitfield family filed renewed charges in Georgia. The sheriff's department underwent complete overhaul. Mandatory body cameras, third-party oversight, new hiring protocols, quarterly arrest pattern reviews, bias training. Drake was demoted, 2 training officers placed on leave, new sheriff elected on reform platform. Linda returned to Metro City Police Department full-time, declined commendation, donated portion of settlement to organizations helping wrongful convictions, established scholarship fund in Vincent Park's late wife's name, became advocate for mandatory dash cam legislation, spoke at police academies about integrity. The Honda Civic remained her daily driver. The camera stayed mounted. 6 months post-trial, Linda drove the same rural road where Philip stopped her. She passed the exact spot, slowed briefly, then continued. She arrived home to her teenage children. Normal conversation. Normal evening. But the camera stayed in place. Because truth matters. Evidence matters. Accountability matters. And sometimes the most vulnerable-looking people are the ones you should never underestimate. 1 dashboard camera. 1 corrupt sheriff. 4 years in federal prison. $3.4 million in damages to Linda Lawson. $13.1 million total cost to the county. 5 overturned convictions. 6 lives beginning to heal. 9 years of corruption finally stopped. And 1 reminder that resonates beyond this story. The people who look most vulnerable are sometimes the ones who hold the most power. Philip Lever thought Linda Lawson would be easy prey. Instead, she became his reckoning. Linda still drives that Honda Civic. And yes, that camera is still recording. Because the truth always deserves a witness.
If you like this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next story. Share this video with someone who would appreciate it. And let's keep building this community together. And before you go, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what stood out to you the most. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next.